Welcome to SharePoint Mastery Showcase, Episode 14, SharePoint 2007 Beginner Project 1, Part 8, with your host, Keith Hudson. At SharePoint Mastery, we help you master SharePoint one step at a time so you can control your own destiny.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
This is Part 8 of SharePoint 2007 Beginner Project 1, how to design and build a simple help desk ticketing system in under 4 hours, even if you've never used SharePoint before. So far in this series, we have taught you a method for analyzing a business process, how to navigate in a SharePoint 2007 site, how to create a new SharePoint site, how to edit the top-line menu, how to create a custom list, column types of single line of text, multiple lines of text, date, choice, and calculated column, and how to create and test a complex formula in a calculated column. SharePoint Designer 2007 is a free piece of software from Microsoft that allows you to build custom workflows in SharePoint, among other things. If you do not already have it installed on your machine, go to the URL showing on the screen and download it, then install it. If you are installing it on a machine at your workplace, it is possible that you will need to ask for administrator permissions on your desktop computer to do the install, or you may even need to ask your IT department to install it for you. If you want further details on how to install SharePoint 2007, you can go to the URL shown on the screen to see a video that will show you how to install it. Please pause this video course now and install SharePoint Designer 2007 if you don't already have it on your machine. When you've installed SharePoint Designer 2007, restart this video. Now let's look at the Actions tab in our Project Design workbook to determine what workflows are needed. The first step is to create a new list item. We don't need a workflow for that. The second action is that the ticket number needs to be assigned to the ticket. We'll need a workflow for this. Then the system needs to email the ticket number to the user. That will also be done by a workflow. Line 4 says that the ticket needs to be routed to the desktop technician who is responsible for that building. This too will need a workflow. So we can do the steps set out on lines 2, 3, and 4 with a single workflow. Once the technician corrects the problem, we'll have the technician mark the status of the ticket resolved. That'll keep our prototype system simple. When we later modify the system to include a feedback loop from the user, we'll need a second workflow, but we'll worry about it then. Okay, let's start building our workflow. We launch SharePoint Designer. We click File, Open Site, and then in the site name box, we grab the URL for our practice site. It is everything in the address bar except the default .aspx. After we insert that and click Open, we may need to authenticate. I've already authenticated. And then to create the new workflow, click on File, hover over the word New till the context menu pops up, and select Workflow. Call it New Ticket. Attach it to the Problem Tickets list. We will want this to fire automatically whenever a new item is created. For testing purposes, we also want it to start manually. Now we need to go to Next and create an action. We're going to first do a calculation. We have to calculate what our ticket number is going to be. It's going to be the ID number of the current item. So we're plus 100 so that it's a 3-digit number. We're putting it in the variable calc. You'll notice over here this drop down lets us move actions up or down or delete them. Now, having put that in the variable, now we need to update our list with that ticket number. We're working in the current list, current item, and we go down to ticket number, and the value we're going to put in is the workflow variable calc. That creates our ticket number. Now we need to send an email to the user. So we'll click on Send an Email, click on the hyperlink to begin building the email, click on the address book icon as to who it's going to go to. We click Workflow Lookup, and now from the current item we select the email address. In the subject line we'll put, "You have created a new problem ticket." In the interest of time, I may skip some of my typos, but you'll know what we're trying to accomplish here. Now let's put in a sentence here to tell the user what his ticket number is. You've created a new help desk ticket. Your ticket number is. Now we go down here to the bottom left-hand corner and click Add Lookup to Body. We grab the ticket number from there, and then let's put some information into the body of the email so that they can confirm that they entered the right details for the ticket. We're going to look up the username and put that in. We're going to look up their cube number. I'll pause the recording while I do this, since you've already seen how we do it. Let's grab the cube number and then I'll pause. And when we're done, here's what our email looks like, with a nice closing from the help desk. As you can see, it's easy to build this email just walking through the wizard. Much like building a rule in Outlook, you don't have to know how to program. Let's click OK to accept that email. Sorry, let's go back in there and do one more thing before we finish this up. Let's add a couple of spaces here. And we're going to put in a sentence that tells them how to go look up the status of their ticket. And I go back in here and insert the URL. That will let them actually go to the list from the email if they need to do so. I'll save that and then we will test it. First I'll click Check Workflow to make sure there are no syntactical errors. Then I'll click Finish and the workflow will get processed and saved. Once the workflow has been saved, test it by going back into the problem ticket list and creating a new item. You might see I've deleted my prior test items just to keep things clean. Here's my new item. I'll call it Test Workflow Stage 1. Now remember, this is supposed to give me the ID number and email to user. So I'm going to put those notes in there. I'll call it Keith. I won't bother with the phone number, but I will put in an email address that I can go check and make sure it does actually come out correctly. I'll call it Cube 123 Building 1. And I'll say, okay, those are the fields except for the phone number that I would have filled out as a user. Now, it'll take a minute if I go over here and look. We've got a new ticket column now that records the progress of the workflow. If I refresh my list, instead of in progress, I should see completed. And then when I look back to the left, I'll see that the ticket number has now been put in. And when I go to my email, let me grab it and bring it over here. Here's my email. You have created a new help desk ticket, the ticket number, the information that I had entered. So that test was successful. In our next part, we will modify this workflow to also alert the desktop technician that that a help desk ticket has been assigned to him, and to update the list item with the desktop technician's name. Thank you for joining us for this episode of SharePoint Mastery Showcase, presented by SharePoint Mastery, where we help you master SharePoint one step at a time so you can control your own destiny. Come visit us at www.spmastery.com.